They say money can't buy happiness, but what if it can buy a nation? This is the story of a man so rich, so powerful, and so untouched by the rules of the world that he didn't just lead a country, he bought it. Private islands, armored gold-plated cars, diamond-studded palaces, a personal Boeing 747 with solid gold toilet handles. And that's just the surface. Welcome to the world of the Sultan of Brunei, one of the most mysterious, extravagant rulers alive. He doesn't trend on Twitter. He doesn't appear in Netflix documentaries. Yet his fortune has built a life so extreme, it makes billionaire tech founders look modest. Hassan al-Bolkiah, the 29th Sultan of Brunei, ascended to the throne in 1967 at the age of just 21. At the time, Brunei was a British protectorate, but the young sultan quickly proved he wasn't just a ceremonial figure. By the time Brunei gained full independence in 1984, he had already consolidated real, absolute power. And by then, his wealth had already begun to rival that of entire countries. Brunei may be small, just over 400,000 citizens, but it sits on one of the richest oil reserves in Southeast Asia. Since the 1920s, oil and gas have driven Brunei's economy, but from the 1950s onward, revenue from the nation's oil fields started pouring directly into royal-controlled funds. The Sultan and his family didn't just receive state salaries, they controlled vast chunks of the oil profits through the Brunei Investment Agency, BIA, a sovereign wealth fund created in 1983, just before independence. By the mid-1990s, the Sultan's wealth had exploded. His net worth was publicly estimated at over $40 billion, but analysts suggest the real figure is far higher, spread across foreign real estate, offshore investments, and private holdings buried in complex financial structures. This wasn't just wealth, it was dynastic power backed by natural resources. So what does this wealth look like? It looks like Istana Nurul Iman, the Sultan's palace and official residence. It's the largest residential palace in the world, surpassing even Buckingham Palace in the Vatican. With 2,000 rooms, 257 bathrooms, 110 garages, and its own mosque that can fit 1,500 worshippers, it is a symbol of unrestrained royal opulence. Every chandelier, every curtain, every doorknob was designed to reflect a ruler who doesn't just live large, he lives beyond comprehension. And then there are the cars. The Sultan's car collection is the stuff of legend. Over 7,000 luxury vehicles, including one-of-a-kind Bentleys, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis that exist nowhere else. Over 600 Rolls-Royces alone are reportedly in his collection. At one point, he was responsible for purchasing half of the Rolls-Royces manufactured globally. Travel? He flies aboard a customized Boeing 747, decked out in gold and Italian leather. And for family holidays, multiple private jets follow to accommodate his entourage. If he needs a boutique experience, he doesn't visit the fashion capitals of the world. He brings the brands to him. Entire stores are flown in for private viewings. But none of this extravagance is criticized publicly. Because in Brunei, the Sultan isn't just rich, he's untouchable. Criticism of the royal family is illegal. The media is controlled, and the public is raised with an image of their monarch as a divine guardian of prosperity and tradition. This isn't a rags to riches story. This is a bloodline to empire story. One where oil is the foundation, silence is the shield, and wealth is just the beginning. This is a power to absolute power story, and the world barely noticed. What does it mean to be so wealthy that you stop counting? That's the level the Sultan and his brother Prince Geoffrey reached. They didn't just buy things, they collected them, like God's board of ordinary riches. For them, shopping wasn't a task, it was a performance. Prince Geoffrey was infamous for buying hundreds of luxury cars, yachts, and watches. He once ordered golden statues of his mistresses and allegedly built a theme park just for the royal family. He even had a private zoo with exotic tigers flown in on demand. According to reports, he commissioned custom-built jets, filled them with silk, and took flight simply for the experience of luxury in the air. At one point, the family reportedly owned over 500 properties around the world, including the Plaza Athénée in Paris, the Dorchester in London, and the New York Palace Hotel. Their global portfolio stretched from Europe to the Middle East to the Americas. Mansions, penthouses, villas. If the family enjoyed a hotel, they bought it. The Sultan's personal Boeing 747 was custom-fitted with solid gold fixtures and Italian leather. His daily wardrobe allegedly included robes embroidered with gold thread. The entire store was flown to his palace so he could browse in private. His brother's yacht? It was named Tits, and the tenders were Nipple 1 and Nipple 2. Subtlety was never the goal. It was all about outspending the imagination. But behind the gold was chaos. Billions disappeared. Brunei's investment agency couldn't track where the money went. Prince Geoffrey was accused of embezzling over $14 billion. Some legal experts called it one of the most extravagant misuses of national wealth in modern history. Lawsuits flew across international courts, yet no criminal convictions followed, and back home the Sultan's image remained untouched. Why? Because despite the extravagance, the people people of Brunei were cared for. The Sultan maintained free healthcare, free education, generous pensions, and a tax-free economy. The average Bruneian lived in comfort, and for many that was enough. As long as the benefits kept flowing, few dared to question where the money came from or where it went. And those who did, they stayed silent. Brunei has strict censorship laws. Public dissent is rare. Investigations are minimal. Because in Brunei, power is absolute, and the line between public wealth and private luxury has long been erased. While most billionaires chase attention, launching rockets, making headlines, the Sultan of Brunei moves in silence. He rarely appears in international media. When he does, it's tightly managed. Every interview, every photograph, every word is filtered through layers of state control. In Brunei, it's illegal to criticize the Sultan. The press is government-owned. Internet content is monitored. Even casual public dissent can result in arrest or exile. From a young age, Bruneians are taught to view the royal family as protectors, providers, and spiritual leaders. This reverence isn't just cultural, it's enforced. The education system, national holidays, and state media all reinforce one message. Loyalty to the crown is loyalty to the nation. That's how you build a kingdom that functions more like a family business than a democracy. Every law, every policy, every budget flows through him. Decisions are made behind closed doors. There are no televised debates, no elections, no opposition parties. Power is centralized, unquestioned, and permanent. The Sultan's private army is equipped with the latest technology. His security forces have surveillance capabilities on par with small intelligence agencies. His inner circle operates with near total immunity. Even minor royal family members are shielded by status, luxury, and law. But behind the gold was chaos. Billions disappeared. Brunei's investment agency couldn't track where the money went. Prince Jeffrey was accused of embezzling over lion. 14 billion. Some legal experts called it one of the most extravagant misuses of national wealth in modern history. Lawsuits flew across international courts, yet no criminal convictions followed. And back home, the Sultan's image remained untouched. Why? Because despite the extravagance, the people of Brunei were cared for. The Sultan maintained free healthcare, free education, generous pensions, and a tax-free economy. The average Bruneian lived in comfort, and for many that was enough. As long as the benefits kept flowing, few dared to question where the money came from or where it went. And those who did, they stayed silent. Brunei has strict censorship laws. Public dissent is rare, investigations are minimal. Because in Brunei, power is absolute, and the line between public wealth and private luxury has long been erased. While most billionaires chase attention launching rockets, making headlines, the Sultan of Brunei moves in silence. He rarely appears in international media. When he does, it's tightly managed. Every interview, every photograph, every word is filtered through layers of state control. In Brunei, it's illegal to criticize the Sultan. The press is government-owned. Internet content is monitored. Even casual public dissent can result in arrest or exile. International human rights organizations have raised concerns about censorship, the lack of political freedoms, and the implementation of strict Sharia law in recent years. Some Western governments have criticized Brunei's legal system, particularly its stance on freedom of expression and LGBTQ+ rights. But those voices rarely make an impact. Why? Because the Sultan doesn't need outside approval. His wealth, independence, and control mean that foreign pressure holds little weight. When celebrities and international brands tried to boycott his luxury hotels in 2019, Brunei's official response was silence, and business continued as usual. This isn't just about maintaining a low profile. It's about making sure that nothing escapes his control. He is not just the head of state. He is the law, the economy, the religion, and the image of Brunei itself. That's what makes his story so shocking. In a world obsessed with freedom and democracy, one man rules an entire nation like a personal empire, with no elections, no opposition, and no questions. And most people have never even heard his name. So did he literally buy a country? Not with a checkbook, but through lineage, natural resources, and absolute power. What the Sultan of Brunei inherited wasn't just a crown. It was a kingdom fully intertwined with his bloodline. Few monarchs in modern history have maintained such a tight grip on a nation's every system. To understand how, we need to look back. Brunei's monarchy stretches back over 600 years. In the 15th century, it emerged as a powerful Islamic sultanate, ruling trade routes across Southeast Asia. Though colonized by the British in the 19th century, the royal family maintained internal authority. And when independence came in 1984, Hassan al-Bolkiah didn't just become head of state, he became everything. In Brunei, the Sultan is simultaneously the king, the prime minister, the defense minister, the finance minister, and the supreme commander of the armed forces. He also serves as the head of Islam in the country, granting him both political and religious authority. His image appears on currency and his name is invoked in legal oaths. There is no clear distinction between government, monarchy, and religion. They all converge in him. His wealth doesn't simply come from taxes or public funds. It flows directly through state-run oil companies like Brunei Shell Petroleum, in which the government holds a major stake. The profits feed into the Brunei Investment Agency, BIA, controlled by the Ministry of Finance, of which the Sultan is the head. In other words, he oversees the agency that manages the nation's financial reserves, giving him access to billions. When the Sultan decides to build a palace, pass a law, or declare a holiday, there is no parliamentary vote, no opposition challenge, no delay. These are executive decisions made in private, announced publicly, and implemented immediately. In 2004, for example, he reinstated the Legislative Council, not to create democracy, but to further reinforce royal decision-making under a different name. Even religious law flows from him. In 2014, the Sultan introduced a strict interpretation of Sharia law, including harsh penalties for theft and adultery. International backlash was loud, but in Brunei, resistance was muted. Why? Because dissent isn't just discouraged, it's structurally defanged. When the crown owns the banks, the land, the oil, the military, and the law, it's not a nation led by a king. It's a nation personified by one. The Sultan doesn't simply live in Brunei, he is Brunei. His personal decisions shape not only policy, but public behavior, culture, and perception. And that's what makes him one of the most powerful and untouchable men alive. If this glimpse into unimaginable power fascinated you like the video, subscribe for more stories that reveal the wealth and secrets hidden behind palace walls. And comment below, would you trade democracy for a life inside gold?